Welcome to MojoPlays, and while we always have the highest hopes for any and all new video games coming out, these have us worried they could end up being some of the biggest letdowns of 2024.
We lost the target! Repeat! Task Force X has lost the target!
Black Myth Wukong.
You too want to be an immortal?
First announced back in 2020, Black Myth Wukong blew everyone's collective eyeballs out of their heads with stunning visuals and solid, hard-hitting combat. 3 years later, and a switch to Unreal Engine 5, and we're closer than we've ever been to the game's full release. However, in the time since Black Myth's reveal, there have certainly been no shortage of Souls-like open-world games, especially the biggest one coming from the pioneers of the genre FromSoft with Elden Ring, which fundamentally reinvented the entire landscape around Souls games. Black Myth still looks incredible, and its art design is top-notch, but in the shadow of the Erd Tree, this monkey might not be able to do enough tricks to stand out in an already overcrowded landscape. This is also the developer's first game, which isn't a knock against them, but their ambitions might outpace their abilities. Destiny 2: The Final Shape.
I don't even know where to begin. You've missed so much.
After a laundry list of bizarre decisions that have splintered the fanbase, also among numerous layoffs, the studio has been struggling for a number of years now. And while the Destiny community is loyal, their loyalty seems to have been tested one too many times, as hype for the latest expansion for Destiny is at an all-time low. Even the resurrection of beloved character Cayde 6 has done little to move the needle for Bungie, and the expansion recently suffered an almost 6-month delay to the middle of 2024. Bungie's attempts to appeal to a broader audience by oversimplifying the mechanics for newcomers has also been met with substantial backlash from the community. The pioneers of the live service industry, it would seem the bubble has finally burst for the Traveler and Bungie as a whole, and we wonder if Sony might be regretting their multi-billion-dollar investment.
I'm here now. Wherever the hell here is.
Helldivers II.
But freedom doesn't come free.
No! Sweet liberty! No! Look familiar?
The original Helldivers was a surprise hit with gamers back in 2015, and became one of the standout cooperative shooters of the year. The game's top-down perspective belied a deep combat loop that required far more strategy than many players expected. With the sequel, Arrowhead and Sony are shifting the perspective to third person. However, where gamers enjoyed the smaller scale of encounters with their friends and teammates in the original, Helldivers 2 is going much bigger and louder. While it would have been enough to simply change the gameplay to a more boots-on-the-ground approach, with much of the core experience remaining unchanged, Sony's push for more live service games might be the death nail that squanders the sequel's potential, and even longtime fans are already cautious of the series' new approach.
Join the fight for freedom. Enlist today.
Tomb Raider 1-3 Remastered. Admittedly, our concerns are less with the state of the original games and more with the team in charge of the remaster. While what we've seen so far does seem like not only a faithful remaster, but also a significant improvement over the 2-decade-old classics, Aspire's recent track record of ports and remasters does cause us to have some reservations. Their Switch ports of the classic KOTOR and KOTOR 2 games were wildly underwhelming, and while the remaster of the original Tomb Raider trilogy will hopefully be a much more streamlined upgrade, we do also wonder how much of the gameplay will be modernized. Currently, players will be able to switch seamlessly between the classic and the remastered graphics, but we don't know how much the control schemes for these games will be updated beyond vague promises of modern quality of life improvements. Without them, this remaster might be for the die-hard fans only. Killer Klowns From Outer Space, the video game. Over the last few years, a lot of beloved movie properties have been updated into asymmetric multiplayer games, such as the Evil Dead series, Friday the 13th, and the countless cameos in the Dead by Daylight franchise. However, these are all beloved properties that still have rabid fan bases even today. So who thought adapting a long-forgotten B-movie, Killer Klowns from Outer Space, would be enough to pull in fans from those other, far more successful multiplayer offerings? While the game does seem to be doing an impressive job recreating the outright strangeness of its source material, and some of the traps and abilities of the clowns do faithfully emulate the films, in a market already overcrowded with asymmetric multiplayer games with more and more being shuttered every year, we have our doubts this one will do enough to stand out, let alone develop a following. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2.
What will I be to you, Willem? And to this lonely, forgotten warehouse?
When a game enters development hell the way Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 has, it's usually highly unlikely the game will ever see the light of day, let alone be any good. However, after numerous delays and a change of studio, many fans are rightfully concerned about the state of the newest entry and haven't been very pleased with the footage that's been shown so far. Even with the shift of developers to the Chinese room, very little seems to have changed. While the Chinese room are competent developers, most of their titles are narrative walking simulators, so giving them Bloodlines 2 seems like an odd choice given their pedigree. Many have also voiced concerns about the game's combat, which just seems bland and unimpactful, not fully capturing the feel of a vampire fully embracing their otherworldly powers. Stranger things have happened, but this undead abomination might have been better left sleeping forever.
Can you hear it? My blood is singing. I will wait for you.
Foamstars.
Okay, it's a showtime!
Despite their numerous and catastrophic failures, it seems like Square Enix just never learns. After having to prematurely shut down both Marvel's Avengers and Babylon's Fall, Square is back with their Splatoon clone Foamstars, which looks to be their next big bid for a live service title. While the game has been testing well during preview events, the bubblegum pop aesthetic definitely isn't for everyone, and given Square's predatory practices in the past, Foamstars will likely be another microtransaction-riddled mess whenever it finally launches. With other hero shooters like Overwatch struggling over the last year, it's unlikely many gamers will be willing to sink their valuable time, let alone hard-earned cash, into another free-to-play multiplayer shooter. And Foamstars could be yet another live service that is dead on arrival.
Ready for the Foamstar party?
Little Nightmares 3. The world and characters created by original developer Tarsier Games have become the stuff of, well, nightmares, with their terrifying worlds and horrific character designs becoming instantly iconic. After the success of their sequel, Tarsier bid farewell to the world of Little Nightmares, with Supermassive Games of Until Dawn fame now taking over. Unfortunately, the new developer is going in a decidedly different direction, and seems to be focusing less on the isolated, claustrophobic design of the original games, and opening up not only the world while also letting in more light, but ditching the isolation in favor of co-op gameplay. Hopefully, Supermassive manages to maintain the series' overall oppressive tone, and doesn't focus too much on a forced co-op experience. South Park Snow Day.
We have to take them out before they kill us out. Good luck!
South Park has had no shortage of video games over the many years the show has been on the air, but the series seemed to have finally found its niche with the back-to-back successes of Stick of Truth and The Fractured But Whole. So, instead of continuing that goodwill, South Park's follow-up to those hits will of course be a co-op multiplayer shooter. Many also question the graphical change to 3D when the past games had perfectly captured the look and feel of the classic series. Although the game can be played solo and does feature an overall narrative continuing the boys' Dungeons & Dragons roleplay, the tonal shift for a standard shooter looks to be more chasing trends rather than innovating on a classic formula like previous games. Hopefully, the series' humor and overarching story will be stronger than its gameplay, and the boys' next adventure will be a return to form.
Says who? Says Clyde. And do you always trust what Clyde says? Hell no, Clyde's a total dumbass.
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Don't sweat it. Batman doesn't kill people. Are you okay?
For the better part of a decade, Rocksteady reinvented not only Batman games, but also perfected a combat design that has been widely adapted by the entire gaming industry. Gamers had long been anticipating their next entry into the Arkhamverse, and with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, Rocksteady blew everyone's minds in the worst way imaginable. Instead of the studio's tightly designed combat and world design, players will be exploring a metropolis overrun by Brainiac with all the standard looter-shooter mechanics and microtransactions that have become the bane of gamers for the last few years. In addition, many have called out the boring shoot-the-glowy-bits gameplay, with each of the titular Suicide Squad lacking any individuality, with all seemingly having access to the same arsenal and mechanics. This is not what the community wanted from the acclaimed developer, and they have not been shy about making that clear.
So, figure out who we're killing yet? Oh, fuck!
What game are you worried about ending up disappointing you in 2024? Let us know your concerns down in the comments. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.